Okay, let's just jump right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are completely demystifying the academic tone. If you're a student, or really anyone who has to write formally, you have absolutely stared at a blank screen wondering, how do I make this sound smart? Well, today we are breaking down exactly how to write with radical clarity and confidence. Think of this as a step-by-step tutorial on mastering formal academic tone, driven by one absolutely crucial golden rule: clarity over complexity. So, I want you to take a look at the question on the screen right now. Does a complicated sentence actually mean you're smarter? Seriously, ask yourself this, because it causes so much unnecessary anxiety. We've all been there, right? Thinking that writing a dense, twisted sentence packed with words we found in a thesaurus is the secret to high marks. But is that actually true? Spoiler alert, no, it's not.
To get to the definitive answer, we're pulling insights directly from this incredible source document, Kulia 9, which translates to Lecture 9. This brilliantly lays out the foundational rules of language register, spelling, and punctuation. It's essentially a masterclass on how scholarly writing is built from the ground up, and it treats your writing style not as some fancy decoration, but as the actual engine of your argument.
Here is our roadmap for the explainer today. We're going to cover 1. Mythos penulisan academic. 2. Kejelasan mendahului keindahan. 3. Bertindak dengan ayat aktif. 4. Jargon versus istilah technical. 5. Disiplin agen dan terbaca. And finally, 6. Mengawal renzak huja anda.
Let's start right at the top with Section 1, Mythos penulisan academic, debunking the complexity illusion.
I really love the contrast here. On the left, you see this huge myth, the idea that obscure language and incredibly layered, complicated sentences somehow equal deep intellectual thought. But look at the reality on the right. Uncontrolled complexity literally just obscures your meaning. Actually, scratch that. It doesn't just obscure it, it completely weakens your authority. True maturity in your writing isn't about confusing your reader to sound impressive. It is all about explaining highly complex ideas through clear, tightly controlled sentences.
Which brings us to defining what an academic register actually is. As you can see, it's formal, it's precise, unemotional, and totally argument-driven. But pay attention to what it is not. It's not stiff, and it definitely isn't poetic or overly expressive. It's about delivering a purely objective argument. If you try to fake formality by just plugging in giant words without really grasping their context, your paper is instantly going to lose credibility.
Moving right along to Section 2, Kejelasan mendahului keindahan. Clarity precedes beauty.
Look, at the end of the day, you are not writing a poem here. On the left, literary beauty focuses on aesthetics and flowery rhetoric. But academic writing, that demands the right side, epistemological clarity. Your absolute #1 goal is transparency. Your reader needs to instantly tell the difference between a hard fact, your personal interpretation, and your core argument. If they are distracted by excessive adjectives, they're going to experience cognitive overload, and they'll completely miss the point you're trying to make.
And this perfectly captures our central mantra for this explainer: show, don't obscure. The source material hits on this really hard. You cannot just drop general, sweeping statements. You can't just say, this policy had a massive impact, and leave it at that. You have to show the receipts, support your claims with hard data, empirical analysis, and specific examples, and totally ditch those empty abstract terms that hide what you're actually trying to say.
Okay, let's get into the mechanics of how we do this in Section 3. Bertindak dengan ayat aktif, act with active sentences. Now, this is a massive trap that so many students fall into without even realizing it: nominalization. This is when you overuse abstract nouns instead of verbs. When you nominalize, you're burying the actual action of your sentence under all these heavy, clunky nouns, which forces you to use weak verbs like is or occurred. It turns a dynamic, punchy argument into a giant brick of text that obscures cause and effect.
Just check out this before and after from the text. On the left, we've got a heavy, nominalized sentence. Translated, it's roughly, the implementation of this policy led to a reevaluation of the administrative structure. It's so passive, it's bulky. But look at the right side. This policy drove the government to reevaluate the administrative structure. Boom! By making the verb the star again, we instantly create a sharp, transparent action that tells us exactly who is doing what.
Building on that need for precision, let's jump into Section 4, Jargon versus istilah technical, knowing the difference.
There is a really fine line here, and it all comes down to your motive. Look at the left side. Unnecessary jargon. This is stuff used purely to show off or sound scholarly, and it just muddles your text.
On the right, we have necessary technical terms. These are irreplaceable. But here's the catch. Academic writing is about communicating. So, if you absolutely must drop a complex technical term, you have a responsibility to define it or give an example so your reader doesn't get left behind.
All right, let's get into the weeds with Section 5, Discipline Ejan dan Tanda Baca, Spelling and Punctuation Discipline.
Look, proper punctuation is literally the steering wheel for your logic. It dictates exactly how the reader's brain processes your ideas. Commas aren't just there so the reader can take a breath. They separate syntax to prevent ambiguity and cognitive fatigue. Periods firmly lock down an analytical thought. Semicolons strategically bridge closely related clauses. If you lose control of your punctuation, you are quite literally losing control of your entire argument.
I absolutely love this quote from the text. Punctuation is a tool of meaning, not cosmetics. It's not just sprinkled on the page to make it look pretty. Take quotation marks, for example. If you get sloppy with them, you blur the line between your own original voice and the source's voice. And let me tell you, confusing the reader about whose idea is whose is a huge red flag that totally undermines your research.
Finally, let's pull all of this together in Section 6, Mengawal Rentak Huja Anda, Controlling the Rhythm of Your Argument.
Think about readability almost like a heartbeat. On the left, we have layered sentences, paragraphs stuffed with way too many clauses and side quests. This exhausts the reader and just signals that your thoughts aren't organized. What we are striving for is on the right, a dynamic rhythm. You get there by balancing short, punchy sentences that highlight your biggest ideas right alongside detailed medium sentences that add scholarly depth. That tempo is exactly what keeps a reader totally hooked.
So wrapping this all up, as you sit down to write your next essay or report, I want to leave you with this final thought on the screen. Is your writing showing your brilliant argument, or is your complexity hiding it? Remember, the true hallmark of intellectual maturity is not writing something that nobody can decipher. It's taking a deeply complex idea and making it accessible to anyone reading it. Use your words to reveal your intelligence, not to bury it.